This guy said, "Oh, man, I got to tell you my story. You know, this is what happened to me." He said the DVD came out, and he had never seen the movie in the theaters, and he had heard that it was real. But his friends got together with him and said, "No, it's not real. It's not real." I said, "I swear to you, it's real. Watch." And they watched the movie. And then immediately following the movie, his friends were still like, no, it's not real, it's not real. And he said, look, there's a documentary on here. And he played the documentary that we've made. And at the end of the documentary, they said, "Oh, fuck, it is real." And that's how he got introduced to the Blair Witch Project. So everybody tells you a story about the Blair Witch Project, which is it's kind of neat that it lives with people that way.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things that kind of everyone does have that kind of, I remember where I was when Blair Witch came out.
It's just so weird.
Yeah. We were chatting a little bit before, and you were talking about how the film actually got made, because I think there is this idea that the actors kind of filmed it themselves, so the directors didn't do that much work, or what was there for the directors to do if they were filming themselves. But you said there was an awful lot of pre-production that went on to get that on
Yeah, there's a huge amount of pre-production in the movie. The idea started in college when we were all in film school. The 5 guys who made the film, we all went to film school together. Originally it was called The Woods Movie, and it was going to be shot on 16mm and kind of being a 70s period piece. But then we didn't have enough money to do that, and it was really 5 years after film school that we all got back together, and one of the guys had gone off and was in military intelligence. He had actually been involved in Afghanistan or someplace like that, and part of doing his military service was that one night they came in and grabbed him and took him and a bunch of other guys, and they threw him in a prisoner of war camp. And for like 3 or 4 days, short of like breaking their arms or anything like that, they basically tortured them. And then, and so we were all talking about how to make Blair, and Greg said, "Hey, what if we did this to actors?" and so that was the first time that we started to have ideas on how to do Blair in a really different way. And ultimately what we did is we brought in the actor, we cast for about a year. So we were very, very specific about who was going to be in the movie. Then we brought in the actors. We did basically a documentary boot camp. We showed them documentary films. We talked about making documentary films, what goes into that. And then we gave all of the actors a background of their individual characters. So this is who you are and everything like that. But we never told them the story. In the meanwhile, we had actually written 40 or 50, it was just over 40-page outline of the film. It was a treatment that, okay, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. Then we gave the actors a GPS and said, okay, at this time, at this day, you need to be here at this coordinate. And then told them, basically, shoot everything. And so they had no idea as to who they were going to encounter, whether that was going to be an actor, or if that's going to be a real person, or if they were just going to do whatever. And then we had 2 directors, so that the one director could actually be, sometimes we were in hides, sometimes we were, watching through binoculars, sometimes we were doing various different things like that, while the other director actually watched the footage. And then we would write notes that we would place in these baskets. In the baskets there were film, more film for them, more tapes, more batteries, and these 35mm film canisters. In those canisters would be notes for the individual actors. So, Mike, you're gonna kick the map into the creek, or Josh, you're gonna get up and leave the tent. So then we were able to manipulate the story that way, and we did that for 8 days, real time, 24 hours a day. Then there was a documentary side to the film that we actually made as well.
So, these actors obviously, they knew what they were buying into to some extent, but was there ever a point where they freaked out and really started wondering what they'd got themselves into?
Yeah, actually, Heather said that there were many times that she would have to walk away from everything and say, think of her boyfriend, and it's not real, it's not real, because we did, you know, they put their tent up, they marched all over the woods. They actually we moved the tent a couple of times for them. It rained, it got cold, we shorted them food. So, you know, we literally would keep them up at night. A lot of that stuff where they're like, what the fuck is that? That's actually us running in a sheet at one point, and you know, us doing, you know, they had no idea when they walked in and saw the stick figures that the stick figures were going to be there. They had, you know, no idea that any of the actors were going to disappear. Or, so there was only one point where it was raining really hard. We did do a couple of scenes, like when they ran out of the tent. That was something that we set up. We had them do a couple of times. All of the house stuff we had them do multiple times, and kind of that was far more like a traditional film. There was one point where it was raining really hard, and they just walked out of the woods. They were like, fuck this, we're out of here. And they literally walked up and knocked on somebody's door and said, you know, feed us, we're actors. So yeah, and we had to go and dry out the tent and reposition it. And we were like, no guys, we need you to go back. And actually we put them in a hotel that night. So that was about halfway through the shoot.
Yeah, yeah. So you said, obviously shooting 24 hours a day, 8 days, you must have had a huge amount of footage to then kind of piece the film together with in post.
Yeah, we did actually. I mean, most of this movie is really made, you know, it was over 40 hours of footage that we had. The first cut of the film was 3 hours long, which was really shaky. And the final cut of the film was 87 minutes. So, yeah, there was a, you know, look, you know, nonlinear editing, we cut that on the Media 100. Nonlinear editing was still like fairly new, and it would have been really difficult for us to make this film without digital nonlinear editing. I mean, it just, the technology really allowed us to do that. And so much of this film is, you know, bits and pieces of dialogue that are taken from different days or different, you know, so you'd see the main character, and the main character, you know, somebody who is on camera is saying something, but sideline dialogue or, you know, all kinds of things like that. There's plenty of it that we just put in a cover shot of the woods or something to get a line in, or, you know. So in a way, we were writing in post, you know, heavily.
Yeah.
Very much kind of like a documentary.
So once the film was finished and you were taking it to Sundance to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you anticipate the response you'd get to it? You know, did you think kind of you got a, I hate to use the word cult classic, but you know.
Well, no, I mean, there's no way that we ever thought that, you know, we hope my mom would like it, which actually some of the investors in the film were friends of mine that I kind of blackmailed and talked into them, and we had one of the very first showings of the film was at my house, and we invited the investors and everything, and they showed it, and the film came to an end, and my dad got up in the credits, turned on the lights, and started apologizing to his friends and to the investors, and said, "I'm so sorry, I just, you know, I can't believe," yeah. And fortunately, one of the investors got up and said, "No, wait a second, that was really good." And, you know, so my dad hated it. But
he got a credit though.
He did get a credit. He did give me some of his money. So no, look, our business plan was really to hopefully make either an HBO thing or something on TV or, you know, something like that. That's what we were hoping for. We never ever thought it would be what it was. Although we, you know, obviously we were trying to make it as best a film as we possibly could. And really more than a film. I mean, we kind of lucked into some of the internet strategy, you know, that ultimately got implemented for the film.